First, though, I'm keen to know if you do try to live sustainably every day. Maybe you use a keep cup. Maybe you rarely buy clothes, or you're very picky with the types of clothes you buy. Or maybe you just think, okay, I can recycle, and that's one of the big things that I am going to do in my everyday life. Well, the Southern Ocean Carbon Company is kind of taking it one step further. They're a Tasmanian startup, and they want to tackle climate change by using seaweed. So the idea is to capture carbon through growing seaweed, and the company hopes to have a product on the market by next year. Adam Brancher is the managing director of the carbon company, the Southern Ocean Carbon Company, and joins me now. Thank you for coming in, Adam.
Oh, it's a real pleasure to be here. Thanks so much.
So, we're talking about a product on the market. What are we envisioning?
Oh, what we're seeing is basically we're doing the work so that people can calculate their carbon footprint, and we can say, well, that now requires 10, 15, 20 metres of rope in the water growing lovely brown seaweed. And it's really that simple. It's about a real direct link between your carbon footprint and offsetting. And Tasmania is just the perfect place to do it.
And so how does seaweed actually help in that regard?
Well, seaweed locks in carbon much more efficiently than trees. And we happen to live in a place where seaweed grows really, really well. And basically, the trick is it grows pretty readily. The trick is then how we lock the carbon in long term. And that's really the work we're concentrating on at the moment.
Okay, so how do you think we do lock it in long term?
Well, there's lots of different ways. I suppose on the left you can take it out and drop it in the deep ocean, and it sinks and it stays down there for a long period of time. Well, I don't think that's a particularly good idea, and it's certainly not what we're looking for, because we simply don't know what's down there and we don't want to affect something with the activities we're doing. And then you move across, and obviously if you eat it, you're not eating something that's been produced on the land, perhaps less efficiently, and of course that then creates an offset. And what we're probably looking at, and what's going to create jobs and create opportunities here, is converting the seaweed, the biomass, to something like biochar or potentially biodiesel. And we are a company. We're not a research organisation, although we are doing research. We're trying to work out what the most economically viable and sustainable way of long-term carbon lock-in is. And, of course, it's going to be something that we can offer to individuals and businesses and say, here's a way that you can actually do something about what is a clear and present danger, climate change.
So will they be paying you to grow the seaweed? Is that how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. So people, like I say, you can calculate it. The average Australian creates about 15.3 tonnes of carbon a year. And we can then basically say, well, this is what that looks like in terms of what we grow. And, people can either look at it and go, you know what, that actually is about what I pay for a cup of coffee a week. And it really is sort of that magnitude. If you price carbon about $15 or thereabouts a tonne. And, it's... I suppose if you go back, why are we doing it? Well, we looked at our own company, which is a company based here in Tasmania. We do marine surveying, and we wanted to do what was right as a company. And when we looked at it, we thought, actually, it's really hard to make that leap between what we emit and how people actually go to lock it in. I mean, there's a lot of well-proven ways of doing it, and we don't disagree with any of them. But Tasmania, like I say, the water temperature, everything else lends itself to what we're suggesting that we're going to, not suggesting, what we're actually doing here.
So was it weighing on your mind a bit? I mean, in terms of what you do with your company?
I think anybody that lives in our planet today that believes in science or understands the science realises that the climate is changing. We work in the marine industry and we can see it every single day. And, I suppose if I, end my life and look back, I want to basically say, look, I've done something positive. I've left this planet a better place, because there is no, I think the slogan is that there is no planet B. It doesn't matter what side of politics you're on. Yeah, we've got to change the way and the trajectory, and this, I think, is a way of us as local Tasmanians doing something that can potentially do that. It won't be the only way that we do it. There's got to be many, many different ways of attacking this major global issue. But this is one little thing, and I think it's got merit.
Adam Brancher is my guest, Managing Director of the Southern Ocean Carbon Company, a Tasmanian startup, and they want to tackle climate change by using seaweed, by planting seaweed, growing seaweed to basically lock in that carbon. Sheena's in Bellerive and she says, please ask about the rope for this seaweed because
brilliant.
the seaweed growing near fish farms breaks away regularly. Yeah. More debris in our oceans, not so good.
That is great. Did you set that question up? Oh, thanks so much. From the outset, we decided that we weren't going to put any plastic in our oceans. So all the rope that we use is sisal, hemp rope, and basically it biodegrades. There are still things we need to overcome. It's very hard to find floats that aren't, some sort of plastic baked, but we're working on that. We thought about Japanese fishing floats, which are gorgeous, exceptionally expensive at the size we need, but we're looking to partner with companies that can recycle and reuse, but absolutely no plastic going in our ropes. That gives us sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. That gives us great opportunities when it comes to lock-in. And I think we mentioned biochar and biofuels. Probably the one thing that I'm passionate about is reef regeneration. We've lost an awful lot of the kelp in Tasmania. I think the figure's somewhere around 95%. We foresee through our hatchery and through our production that we would have a product that we could give back to scientists and organisations that look to regenerate those areas that have been lost. And particularly as we're not using plastic rope, there are things to work out that there's no reason why that rope and that kelp can be put straight back into the water. And obviously the benefits of regenerative reforestation, for want of a better word, that the energy levels on the coastline are reduced, the nutrients, there's ecosystems that are places where baby fish and other things can grow. So there's all sorts of potential spin-offs, but in the early days we just want to nail the process, the hatching, the production, how we deal with it in the water, and then obviously what we do with it afterwards, which, as I say, is critical.
And where in Tasmania will this be happening?
So at the moment we're working with a leaseholder near Birches Bay. We've had our second science report from Marine Solutions. They're science aquaculture consultants, and it was a great read. I've been digesting it over the weekend, and I'm about to knock on Marine Farming Branch's door and ask for consideration of some of the areas that we're looking at. We're not looking at new lease areas, they're existing marine farming areas, but those ones that lend themselves to the big brown kelp growth that we need to really get the amount of growth that we need.
And what type of products are you hoping to make? Because you do say you hope to have something on the market by next year. Is this the way that the company makes money?
I suppose we look to make money through several things. One is obviously by offsetting carbon and allowing people to buy, for want of a better word, voluntary carbon credits at this point, and later downstream accredited products. We'll be looking to take some harvests off the rope, so up to the point where it starts to deteriorate. If we produce biochar, biodiesel, those are things that we can produce. And we're not aiming for monoculture, so it's highly possible that we will have other species of seaweed that have other benefits that companies will recognise. And people are making plastic from seaweed at the moment. Obviously, if you've had a sushi recently, you've eaten seaweed. There's just lots and lots of different ways, and I suppose we'll look at what grows, we'll look at what the market says, and we'll make a decision based on that.
And you mentioned biomass. How's that going to work?
Well, the growth is phenomenal. Brown seaweed grows, in some cases it's almost visible, the growth. So we're looking at growing a native species. We're not looking at introducing anything that really has massive growth potential. One of the big kelp species, and that gives us the mass necessary to offset the carbon.
Adam Brancher is my guest from the Southern Ocean Carbon Company. What do you make of this idea by growing seaweed to capture carbon and hopefully tackle climate change? Do you think it's a good one? 1300 222 936. You can text me as well, 0438 922 936. So in terms of products, like actual hardcore products on the market, is there anything in mind?
There are companies here in Tasmania that process seaweed for medicinal reasons. There's companies that offer dried seaweed as food. Like I say, there are people that are producing plastics. AgriFutures, the government bodies, recently published a report on the seaweed aquaculture industry in Australia, which is underdeveloped, massively underdeveloped. The potential is huge. Looking at 9,000 jobs within a very short period, billions of dollars worth of potential products. And I suppose it's one of those things where unless you do something really stupid, which I'm going to put my hand up now and say we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be, obviously looking at very closely at the science and listening to the scientists. There's not much downside to the industry, and
you talk about those 9,000 jobs. When will you see them actually come? Starting.
I haven't read the report in the last few weeks, but they were looking by the late, I think it was 2030, where you could start to realise those. And of course, different species suit in different places around the country. So I should also mention, of course, the work that's going on in Spring Bay with the methane-reducing species of seaweed, which is exceptionally exciting. Well, I've certainly been talking to the chap who runs that, and any opportunities, any synergies, we'll certainly be looking towards.
And in terms of planting this seaweed, when will that actually start?
Well, we already have rope in the water. That's actually not coming out of a hatchery. That's us basically seeing what actually sticks to it. Within a very short period, we got growth. We got lots of little brown seaweed, and you won't be surprised to see or hear sea lettuce, which is that green stuff that you see on the beach all the time, which is actually quite tasty.
Just had a nibble yourself.
Yeah, we had a bit of a go. Yeah, it takes a little bit of processing, but we have rope in the water, and anybody that's interested can look at our website. Can I do a plug? It's a Southern Ocean Carbon Company, southernoceancarbonccompany.com. And we're obviously on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I think we have a YouTube channel as well. We'd love people to have a look and chuck us a like. If you give us any really funny seaweed memes, we've got some, and I think I've given you a couple of beanies. We've got loads of beanies to give away, so yeah, we'll definitely hit you up. There's nothing better than a beanie on a 26-degree day, except for one on a 28-degree degree.
Great day for it.
Yeah.
Adam, really good to catch up and hear more about your startup, and things are already clearly starting up. So we'll have to follow that more and see what happens.
I really appreciate your time, and thanks very much.
Thanks, Adam. Adam Brancher, the Managing Director of the Southern Ocean Carbon Company, which is hoping to tackle climate change by using seaweed. They've already basically popped the rope in the water, seaweed's attached. What do you think of this idea? It's to capture carbon by growing seaweed. 1300 222 936.